This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Barry North, a sailing and photography enthusiast who earned his PhD in chemistry from Brandeis and a master's in public health in environmental science from Columbia. His corporate health and safety career took him to Denver for 19 years. Now, based in Seattle, he spent recent years serving as a personal and professional coach and lives with his loving and supportive husband, Dean. On November 13th, 2020, Barry suffered a stroke. In today's episode, Barry uncovers powerful strategies he uses to overcome depression, reclaim his passion, and forge a path from darkness to hope. Barry offers his journey of resilience, renewal, and courage. His story is entitled Opportunities Beyond Depression. Thank you for joining us for Part 2, Barry North's interview.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This podcast, Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause, creating space to reflect upon wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. And we give thanks. Now, Barry North's interview. Barry, thank you for sharing your story. At one point you asked, "Is this the way my life is going to be forever?" Then you followed it with, "There are still moments when I ask myself that same question." Are you willing to expand on that for us?
Yeah, there are times when that thought comes across. And I'm 80 years old now. I don't know how many years I have to live until I no longer here. I'm going to have these limitations. Sometimes when I think about it, I can get a little depressed, or at least I get sad. And I realize, well, that's my life now, and I have to deal with it.
Oftentimes it's a very difficult journey to get to that moment where we can say, I'm okay that I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, I think it can be a difficult moment. I think I have dealt with it very well, though.
It sounds like it. You mentioned the Buddhist practice of mudita. Can you explain what that is again for us?
Yes, it's taking the joy of other people. You get joy out of other people's joy. I found out about it through a book that I read. The title is How to Be Sick, a Buddhist-inspired guide for the chronically ill and their caregivers by Tony Bernard. That book has been very helpful.
You explain that practice in your story, but really it seems like you live in that way, being happy for people who are experiencing happy moments in their own lives.
Do. And as I said in my story, there are times when that's difficult for me. I do it as much as possible, but I do at times feel sorry for myself, I have to admit.
How do you come to acceptance?
In my story, I shared ways of doing that, and ACT or ACT is one of them.
Will you walk us through that theory? Acceptance and commitment therapy?
Very much like another practice called cognitive behavioral therapy. And the whole idea is that when you have a thought, you really get present. You don't try to push it away. You just get present to it. You are in the present. You stay in the present, not the past. Then once you do that, you're much more able to do the second part, which is commit to be in action. Gave the example of going outside, but it could also, be in the action of going to the fitness center and just getting moving, or even just calling a friend. That would help too. Any action, any commitment. But once you do that, then really the depression can go away.
So being present to the depression, acknowledging those feelings, and then committing to a step forward into a different direction. And how do you do that? Because that's a difficult part of depression. When we're depressed, we don't want to do anything. How do you motivate yourself enough to commit to that next step?
I think that I can do it sometimes, and sometimes I can't do it. I think that what helps is working with my therapist. She is an expert, and I'm happy to have found her. And so she helps me. And I think about the homework she gives me to really do that too.
Hmm.
Part of it that I didn't mention is feeling the feelings, but also feeling in your body. My therapist always asks me, how is that feeling in your body? Can you get present to your body? Are you feeling warm feeling? Are you feeling cold feeling? Are you feeling a chilly feeling? Just getting present to your body really helps too. Being present in the moment.
The example you gave in your story was when you are in a dark place in your room, committing to getting dressed and going outside. And then once you're outside in the sun and moving, you said it's so much easier to move on with your day. So I imagine that you're living in your body in that moment too, feeling the sun on your skin,
Yeah.
the movement of your body, the blood pumping through your veins.
Yeah. Living in Seattle, there isn't always sun. And I have to say that in the winter months, in the gloomy months, it makes it even harder.
What do you look for in a therapist?
Someone who's a good listener. That's what it's all about. There's sometimes with my therapist, she just listens to me. She doesn't say anything right away. And that really helps, just knowing that she listens.
It's so important to have people like that in our lives, especially when going through moments of depression, having a professional in the room to help guide us through.
Yeah.
When did you first pinpoint depression as such? Acknowledge that it actually is depression.
I think I've dealt with depression for a good part of my life. I think that has something to do with my upbringing and society accepting me or not accepting me. There's that too. I know that this is something that a lot of gay people experience because until recently, it's gotten better, but I've gone through many years where being gay was not all right and I couldn't be out to my friends or anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hard. That's depressing.
How did that experience inform your stroke recovery?
It's a good question. I think because in my life I've had to deal with a lot of challenges and obstacles. I've made my life work. I really think I've had a very good life despite those moments. At a point, I said, I am not going to allow people to consider me a lesser person just because I'm gay. And I actually became an advocate for gay rights. And I think that there's a parallel because not that I've done it so much yet, but I still have an opportunity to be an advocate for stroke survivors. I think I'm doing it right now.
I know you're doing it right now.
Yeah. So there's perhaps with your guidance, I might be able to do more.
I think you've got a lot in you, Barry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I imagine it was and possibly still is a difficult journey. And I also know that for stroke survivors, people with disabilities, there are moments that we struggle with acceptance. It's not the same by any means, but it could inform your experience. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, yeah. Can I add one other thing about that?
Please do.
Before I became a stroke survivor, like many people, I had judgments of disabled people. I didn't want to be around disabled people. I think there was something about being around disabled people that made me feel uncomfortable. That has certainly shifted. And when I look at a severely disabled person, a lot of thoughts go through my mind. But basically, what I do is have compassion for that person.
How do you think one who is uncomfortable around disabled people can start to have compassion for them without having a stroke?
I think that compassion is something that we have to practice. I read about compassion. I talked to my therapist about it. Having compassion for yourself, that's the hardest part, but it's the most valuable. And I think if you have compassion for yourself, then you can more easily have compassion for other people.
How does one start to have compassion for themselves if they are struggling with it?
I think there are a lot of ways of doing that. Maybe just reading about compassion might be a good place to start.
Reading about compassion.
Yeah.
And maybe writing. You're a writer. Maybe reading about compassion and then writing about compassion. Maybe it will infuse into their lives or into our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you willing to share your relationship with writing and how it's evolved throughout your recovery?
I have been a writer most of my life. I know that because when I was in high school, I won a short story contest.
Oh,
Yeah, I've had a couple of my writings published. My mother loved to write, and I think I got it from her. When she lived in a retirement community in Florida, her little bits of writing were published in a newsletter for the community. Anyway, so I've been writing for most of my life. When I have something going on, I write in my journal for one thing. Sometimes I think that I can make a story out of it. But just having a journal to write in helps. And then now I have a writing room that I attend, and every couple of weeks I get together with him, and it really helps me with my writing.
Do you write daily or when you feel like it? What does your writing practice look like?
I try to write daily at least for 15 minutes. I don't always succeed at that. Pretty much do a journal every day.
And what wisdom has emerged about your recovery through your journal writing?
It gives me an opportunity to share my experience with other people. I'd like to think that my writing makes a difference for other people.
Well, it does. How would you describe your relationship with spirituality?
Well, I am not a religious person. I always used to tell people I was an atheist. I don't think I'm an atheist. I am maybe an agnostic, but in my reading and in my growth, I recognize that spirituality is very important. And I think that has to do with becoming a stroke survivor. I've met many people that shared their experiences in spirituality. And spirituality is becoming one with everybody, all others. That's what spirituality means to me.
Your relationship with spirituality has morphed throughout your recovery.
Yes. One of the things I recognize is perhaps without spirituality, your life has no purpose. And I would like to think that my life has purpose. And so through spirituality and really being one with everyone, my life can have purpose that it wouldn't have otherwise.
What would you say your purpose is now, looking back on your life?
My purpose is just be a loving person. And by being a loving person, people see their own value.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, Barry, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your experience. You're so open about the difficult moments and wanted to share things that have helped you work through depression. It's really important.
So I really appreciate what you do, and I really appreciate having been able to share this story with you and with others. It's amazing.
Thanks, Barry. In closing, we take a moment of pause to reflect upon the wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope Barry talked about today. And we give thanks.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.
Thank you for listening to Part 2, Barry North's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Barry North's story. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. We hope Barry's journey and strategies shared inspire you to tackle your own challenges. Remember, seeking professional support can be essential for managing depression and discovering renewal. Stay resilient and keep moving forward on your path toward healing. As part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with others and consider donating to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.